What's up, guys? The iPhone 17 isn't even out yet, and we're already getting a flood of leaks about the iPhone 18 Pro. And honestly, some of these changes are pretty significant. We're talking about a major redesign to the front of the phone, specifically the dynamic island and Face ID. Multiple sources are lining up on this, so let's break down what's actually happening. First up, the dynamic island is getting smaller, like noticeably smaller. According to multiple reports, Apple is planning a significant redesign of the Face ID components for the iPhone 18 Pro. For the first time, most of those components are moving under the display. That means the cutout on the front doesn't need to be as large anymore. It would basically just house the front camera, and that's it. Here's where things get interesting. That smaller cutout might not stay centered. One recent leak suggests Apple could move the front-facing camera to the top left corner of the display instead of keeping it in the middle. That would be a pretty dramatic visual change for iPhone users. Android phones have had hole-punch cutouts in various positions for years, either centered or off to the side. But for Apple, this would be one of the biggest design shifts since the notch first appeared. According to reports, Apple's new under-display Face ID system will sit next to that top left camera cutout. The dynamic island wouldn't need to be centered anymore. Instead, it would shift to the top left, where the time is currently shown on iPhones, and periodically expand outward to cover the upper portion of the screen. Functionally, it would work the same way the current dynamic island does, just positioned differently. Another source recently reported that Apple's adoption of under-display Face ID for the iPhone 18 Pro models will eliminate that black oval that's been sitting at the top of iPhone displays since 2022. You'd be left with just a pinhole cutout for the selfie camera, located in the upper left of the display. So we've got multiple sources backing up the same claim here, which definitely adds weight to this leak. Now, there's another major detail worth mentioning, and that's the display size. Leaks suggest Apple is sticking with the same Pro sizes we have now, at least in terms of the overall form factor. Right now, iPhone 17 Pro is 6.3 inches, and the Pro Max is 6.9 inches. While the physical dimensions may not change much, the usable screen area could actually increase thanks to the smaller cutout and the under-display Face ID. What exactly you'd be doing with that extra space in the top middle of the screen is unclear, but it would technically be usable display area. Under-display Face ID is a big deal on its own. Apple has reportedly been working on this technology for years, and the iPhone 18 Pro could finally be the generation where it's ready for prime time. The front-facing camera will still need to be visible, obviously, which is why we're talking about a hole-punch design, but it's the under-display Face ID that enables the smaller and repositioned cutout in the first place. There's also some discussion around how Apple will market this change. Instead of calling it a hole punch like Android phones do, Apple will almost certainly frame it as a cleaner, more immersive display experience. Whether they still call it Dynamic Island or introduce a completely new name is unclear. If it maintains the same functionality, they'll probably stick with Dynamic Island, but if it's moving to a new position, maybe they'll rebrand it entirely. Who knows? Now, while there are several rumors suggesting the 18 Pro and Pro Max will include under-display Face ID, we do have some conflicting reports regarding what this exactly means for the Dynamic Island and its position. A respected display analyst recently added his support to a new leak about the iPhone 18 Pro's front panel design. He mentioned that what was described in the latest leak is what he was referring to in a report last year. So the shrinking of the dynamic island makes sense, and that lines up with what we've been hearing. The leak explained that only the IR flood illuminator would move under the display to the top left corner, while the dot projector, infrared camera, and selfie camera would remain housed in a reduced center dynamic island. Another source has also backed this claim, which corresponds to reporting from last year. So, if all of this holds true, the iPhone 18 Pro lineup could feel like a slightly bigger redesign than we were initially anticipating. We did just get a pretty significant redesign of the back panel with the iPhone 17 Pro. The new plateau design, where all the cameras sit, is a major departure from previous models, but the front of the phone has looked the same for the last 3 to 4 years. Now, it seems like it's the front's turn to shine. Apple could be moving closer to that true all-screen design they've been slowly working toward for a long time. But honestly, it's still hard to say how this is actually going to look in practice. Personally, I'm starting to believe it's probably going to be a smaller dynamic island that stays centered. I'm not entirely sure I buy the idea of it moving over to the left. That seems like it would work kind of awkwardly with the whole dynamic island software. There would have to be some pretty major changes there to make it feel natural. But of course, it's still early. Plans could change. Apple could end up going in a completely different direction. What makes this redesign interesting is that it shows Apple is still willing to make significant changes to the iPhone, even after all these years. The dynamic island was introduced just a couple of generations ago, and now they're already rethinking how it works. That's either a sign that they're constantly iterating and improving, or it means the original implementation wasn't quite what they wanted it to be. Either way, if these leaks are accurate, we're looking at a pretty clear picture of what the front of the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max could look like: a smaller dynamic island under display Face ID and potentially a repositioned camera cutout. cutout. It's definitely a step toward that seamless display Apple has been chasing for years. So those are the major leaks and rumors surrounding the iPhone 18 Pro's front panel redesign. It's still early, and things could absolutely change between now and launch, but based on what we're hearing from multiple sources, this could be one of the more noticeable visual updates we've seen in a while. Now, I've got more updates on the latest Apple leaks and rumors. Click right here to check that out, and I'll see you there.